George Kilpatrick Inspiration for the Nation, celebrating people we feel good about. We're pleased to be joined by Syracuse Fire Chief Michael Monds, and this is sort of a annual check-in, so to speak, right? Just to get an update as to some of the things that the fire department is engaged in the city of Syracuse. But first, I know that this past week has been tough on the fire department with the loss of two law enforcement officials, Lieutenant Michael Husak and Syracuse police officer Michael Jensen. And I know I'm just going to give you some space to share how the fire department is also grieving.
Well, I think, I don't think you've been in my office, George, but on my wall, I have a picture of the fire chief who was a chief in 1978, and that was the last time where firefighters died in the line of duty actively fighting a fire. Was four firefighters up on University Ave. So as the fire chief and everybody from the chief all the way down to the newest recruit that just got hired, I think everybody does everything in their power to make sure they are safe and that their coworkers are safe and that, they come into work, do their job to the best of their ability and go home. And as the chief, every decision we make with policies and procedures and what do we need to have improvement on, I'm always looking at that and always trying to not make a decision that is going to harm anybody. And I know Chief Cecil, going through the defund the police movement and, all the different reforms that they made, that a lot of them were very, very good for the community and made their department stronger and better. I would think that, a lot of things that I watched them go through, they've been through a lot over the last 3 or 4 years. And to see one of their officers who comes to work and tries their hardest every day, in his shift and in his life in the line of duty. And from what reports are, they saved many more people that would have also succumbed to probably a shooting if they didn't intervene and end up killing the suspect, what it sounds like. So it's been hard watching them go through this past week and plan for a funeral and, all the things to have a dignified service for somebody who died so honorably in the line of duty. And, me and Joe Cecil are pretty good friends and his command staff and even the chiefs before them. I just think about the weight that they had to bear. And so, when this happened, I couldn't think of enough stuff we can do to help them. And we just try to be in the way and out of the way at the same time and just help our other sworn uh, personal public servants in blue to get through this week. So this was hard on me and our team, our whole department. And I couldn't imagine having to go through this on our own. But, I think we just want to respect and honor what they did and the lives they lived. And, it's really a message to the community that, the firefighters and police every day, they come to work and they're looking to protect people. And, certainly there's always, the discussion about, some people don't deserve to have this honorable profession, but I think 99.99% of everybody that's wearing these uniforms tries to do the right thing every time. And, when somebody loses their life, it is a sad moment in time.
You said it was like losing one of your own.
Yes, we work so close to the police department. We go on all the calls they go on, whether it's a domestic dispute, shootings and stabbings that occur throughout the city, car accidents. They respond to all the fires we do, and a lot of the times, some of the scenes and locations that we arrive to aren't safe, and we can't do our job oftentimes without the police there to protect and make it safe for us also. So we are one and the same, and they were in a different department. But anytime you lose a city employee, but let alone a police officer or a firefighter that is constantly in danger, and people that I work at a public safety building, I see the police officers coming and going, and I joke with them all the time that they took the wrong test and they should be firefighters, but they just didn't know any better. And, sorry for you, but, you know, I also see, social media videos of these same police officers wrestling guns away from people that we're all scared of, So at the same time, I joke around with some of these police officers, and some of them I don't know their first and last names, but I know they show up to work every day to try to protect our city. And it did feel like it was somebody in my department, but
And you're right. I mean, you talk about working together with police. Your fire departments are typically first responders, along with other EMT personnel, and many of the firefighters are also trained as paramedics. And so, I guess that's basic training, right? I assume that
yep. Everybody gets trained to the EMT level now.
the EMT level, yeah.
Yep. This class was the first time we ever raised the training to that level, and everybody that we hired went through training and obtained that certification. So, yes.
Right, and so you can provide basic support to individuals, and of course as the levels go up, you can supply advanced life support. So,
Yes.
and so given that backdrop, and I think what you wanted to do for our audience is paint the picture of what it is every day to go out and protect and to serve, right? That's what I'm getting at from you.
Yes, I think on our end, right, we come in and there's a lot of different things we're responsible for. When somebody stops breathing, we go to calls where babies that are newborns home with their parents for the first time, they stop breathing, and we're called to provide treatment, resuscitate them, and help them, breathe again. We're also dispatched to any type of car accidents, difficulty breathings, all the medical calls, any medical call, we're dispatched to help. But certainly when people think of the firefighters, they think about going to fires. And the last 2 years, we've set records on the amount of fires and the amount of calls we've gone on in the last year. 2023, we went on 30,000 alarms in the city, and you have to train a lot. We train 80,000 hours. And so, when you show up to a fire and, you get reports of people inside trapped. And, there's all this training that you go through, classroom training, and then you do a lot of hands-on training. And that's very difficult to, be able to, memorize all these skills in the classroom and then be able to go out and train when there's not an emergency and be able to replicate those skills that you learned in the classroom and actually do it hands-on. But there's just another level when there's an actual real 911 call, and you get dispatched, and you're at the firehouse and you get dispatched to a fire with reported people trapped, and you're putting on your equipment and your PPE, and you're putting on your tank, and the driver's driving, trying to get there in a timely manner, but also keeping people safe to the best of their ability. And they get there, and there's a car in the driveway, and the neighbors are saying there's people inside the house. And, I've been to several fires since I've been the fire chief. And, I'm in my 25th year as a firefighter. And, I've seen it 100 times, and it never gets old watching how when the firefighters have their backs to the wall, they just go to another level to get to the people that need help. And, our city historically, over the last 10 years, we're 3 times the national averages in civilian fire fatalities. Last year, we only had 1 fire fatality. The year before, we had 5, but the year before that, we had 1. But the amount of rescues that our firefighters made was tremendous. And
And
yep.
and you just had I know I just saw something this past week. There was a report of a firefighter that was injured in a fire just recently.
Yes, we had a rookie firefighter who it was his very first fire, and he sustained. Initially, we thought they were second-degree burns, and when you look at it, it looked like it was a really, really bad sunburn. And he went to the hospital. We went to the burn unit, and they treated him. The burn eventually wasn't healing properly, and he just had surgery Saturday night, and he's still in the hospital today. And that fire was on April 9th. So he was in the hospital, got discharged, went back in, and he's still in a lot of pain right now in the hospital. And it was a fire over on Oneida Street. And it was his very first fire. He has 20 years at least to go in his career. And I went that night, I went up to his wife their house, and I talked to his wife, and just told him that the fire department's going to be here to help him get through his injury, and give him as much treatment as he can get to like heal. He had a burn on his leg, and so yeah, every fire we go to, there's people in danger, and we also intercede and put ourselves in danger, and that was a perfect example. There were possibly reported people trapped in this house that he was going up the back stairwell, and there was fire all around, and even some of the stairway was burnt away. And he wasn't really sure exactly where he got burnt, but he went outside. The fire was so bad we had to call everybody outside the house. And when he went outside, he looked at his supervisor and he says, "Hey, my legs are throbbing. Should they feel this way?" And his lieutenant was like, "No, they should not be throbbing." And they took his gear off, and they realized he was burned. So he's doing good. I mean, he's handling it really well. I've seen dozens of firefighters get burned, and none of them are easy. Certainly some of them are less severe, but this is one of the most severe burns that I've seen one of our firefighters sustain. And
it raises the question about protective gear. Was
yes,
there something with the clothing? Was what could, I mean, obviously you're investigating all that, but
right.
like it raises those questions.
Certainly, when somebody gets burned or hurt, we take all their equipment and we send it out for a third party to inspect it to make sure there was no anything that caused the burn. Besides, sometimes the fires just are really, really hot, or sometimes there's steam, and the water that is on the
Mm,
ground just is really hot, and it turns into almost like when you're boiling a pot of water
right, right. And you
on
get
you. So sometimes we never know the exact cause, but we checked his gear and it all checked out perfectly. So we're assuming that this was a steam burn of some kind. So,
so you said to me that you wanted to come in and give us an update about some of the things that are going on. So what's going on?
So I think our beginning of this conversation, we've been talking about the police officers and the firefighters, and one of the things that I've been wanting to do since I was a chief and even before is being able to give the firefighters as much training and the ability to elevate through the ranks, get promoted, and not only have the desire to get promoted, but give them the tools and the classes to take, and how to take civil service tests, how to take these other firefighting classes that help you elevate through, our system, which is known as a civil service system. And what we were able to do in 2021 was put together a professional development program, which is the first formal professional development program, which is going to lead to our firefighters becoming better leaders in the fire stations out serving the public. It's going to be able to like provide more people to succeed me when I retire and I move on. They'll be more readily prepared, but it also makes them better firefighters because they're taking more classes now than they have ever taken. And I think when we started this program, most of our firefighters did not have any national certifications, or even some of them were doing jobs and they didn't have state certifications. But since we've implemented this program, we've had an increase of 500% of the firefighters that are actually getting certified in all the different aspects of firefighting and EMS training. So what that means is they are a lot of the classes that they're taking helps them score higher on the test. It's the most equitable program that a fire department can have, because it doesn't matter who you are, what your origin of race is, whether your gender is a female or male, or whatever your demographic is, everybody has the same opportunity. And I can say that the history of the fire service hasn't always been as equitable, and we put this program through, and it's basically a playbook on if you want to move horizontally through the organization, here's how you go to work at this station, or maybe if you want to go work at a special operations place that requires a little bit more training, here's how you get there. If you want to become a lieutenant or a captain or a district chief or a deputy chief, here are all the things you need to do. Here are the classes you take. And because of that program, in the initiative of our firefighters, we promoted more people of diverse demographics in my 6 years than we had in the 148 years before altogether. We've hired, and I know you've seen some of the statistics before. the hiring we've done is some of the highest classes of diverse people that have come on the job due to our recruiting. So it starts with our recruiting before people get hired, but when you get on the job, I just wanted to have a program where people feel like it's an equitable job, and they still have to perform, they still have to be able to do the job, but we're giving them tools that was never ever given to them before. And like I said, it's been a tremendous success, and hopefully that some of the people that have took advantage of this will certainly move through the ranks. You know, we have our first Black female lieutenant. I promoted the first female chief officer in our department's history. And I'm proud that, you know, we are giving people opportunities that have never had opportunities demographically before. And hopefully it just shows all the other people in our department and the kids and the young adults that want to come on that not only can you be a firefighter, but you can ascend through the ranks and you could be the chief just like me if you
Yeah,
here. Yes.
36 years ago, first woman firefighter,
Yes.
Danita Thomas.
Anita Thomas.
You
Yep.
know, and you know that she obviously made history, and it was rough for her. But
Yep.
hopefully, these sort of initiatives will make it easier for the next folks
Yep.
uh, to come through. When
Yep.
is the next firefighter exam?
We just had an exam in January, and we had over 500 people that actually passed the exam. So it's a pretty competitive
Hmm.
job to obtain. I know a lot of occupations are having a hard time, you know, hiring and
Not you.
I wish we had more budgeted positions so we could hire more. And you know, I've been talking with the mayor about, you know, if you drive around downtown, all the different economic development, you know, and I talked earlier about our current state of how many alarms we're responding to, of how many people need help. And hopefully one day we'll be able to put more people on duty and increase our staffing and give more people that live in a city the opportunity to be firefighters, because the only people we hire are people who live in a city. So
Is that something new?
nope, we've been doing it before I was a fire chief. But you have to live in a city, and the union, we have a contract with the union that you have to live in a city for 5 years. So not only do they live to get hired, but they also have to stay in a city for 5 years.
Uh, So, you're at full capacity now?
We're down 5 budgeted positions, but yep, certainly we're as high as we can
So,
almost be.
so out of those 400 is 5 people you can choose
So
potentially.
you know what? When we put on a class, it takes so much effort and time and money to like have a training class. We try to have a class. We don't put a class on unless it's around 20 to 25 people
Okay,
because you're kind of wasting a lot of
I
resources
see.
when
I
doing it
see.
online. So we
I'm
work.
assuming that everybody who took the exam is qualified, but that just means that they can go forward
Yep.
potentially.
Um, so the way it works is we have to hire the highest scores. And so we start off
Right.
at the hundreds. And then once you get down to two people in the hundreds, then you can get down to the 95s. And so we go through an interview process. You have to have a pretty clean background. You have to be medically fit. And, you know, you have to actually want to do the job physically. And a lot of people, you know, they might see the firefighters driving through the city or wearing their, you know, bunker gear, and but it's a physically demanding job, especially when somebody's needing your help or you're trying to extinguish a fire and you have to rip every piece of sheetrock that's in a dining room or living room to make sure the fire is not traveling. It's a very tiresome job, and the tests we give to people during our interview process, a lot of people don't make it through that. And so, you know,
Hmm.
we're going to have a an orientation coming up soon to just let everybody know the different rigors of getting hired. And oftentimes, because of people not being able to meet a lot of those standards, we get down into the 95s. And certainly, the higher test score, I think historically people would always say the higher you score on the test, the better candidate you're going to be. But I personally don't think that's the case. There's some people that are just not good test takers, and they might be the best firefighter that the world has never seen before.
Well, it's ever seen. What any other new adventure, new ventures you got going on?
We built a new training tower over at our training facility. So a lot of the things that we've been working on is to pour back into the firefighters to keep them safe.
Hmm.
Like Officer Jensen, the police, you know, the last thing you want to do is not prepare them for, you know, really terrible situations.
Hmm.
And We've had 42 firefighters that have died in the line of duty. So, we're just trying to give them, this professional development program to build themselves to be more safe and make better decisions when they're working. And we're actually putting a lot of time and money into our training grounds so they can practice before the alarm comes in.
Chief, I was just thinking, I wanted to also offer my condolences. I know that you have been dealing with some personal family issues, and I didn't want to let this call go without
Okay.
acknowledging that it's been some rough going with the
Um,
family.
Thank you. Yeah, my sister passed away. She was 53, and that was really, really sad. And my father-in-law passed away a few weeks ago. And I think, dealing with those two deaths, and I kind of organized the funerals, on behalf of our families, and just dealing with this death with the two officers, Jensen and Husak. It just was like another punch in the gut. When you consider some of the people that you work with, family, and the people that work with them. A lot of our firefighters knew all of these, both of these officers pretty well, and so it was just it's been a long year, and it's got to get better, right, George?
It does. Well,
Get
brother,
better.
listen,
Yes.
I'm gonna say brother to brother. I hope you
Yep.
getting the support you need
Yep.
as to get through this time, because you can't be Superman.
Nope. Yep. I got a lot of people around me that are supporting me, and people calling and checking on me. And
Okay.
even when some of my best friends, I haven't talked to them in a week, they're like, "Hey, you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
All
I
right.
know." So yeah, I
You
got,
got you got
yep,
good support.
yep.
Lastly, I've been thinking about this all day, and I wanted to know why did you want to become a firefighter?
I didn't really, growing up, I lived across some of the fire stations growing up over on Bellevue Ave and over on South Salina Street. And I drove by those firehouses hundreds and thousands of times, and I never once looked over to say, what are they doing over there? And when I came home from college, a bunch of my friends were taking the firefighter exam. Focused firefighters of color was actually paying for some of them to take the test, and they put me onto it. And I took the test, and I scored high, and I got hired. So I didn't really know what I was getting into. And the job I was working at was at GC Hanford over on West Street. And
Yeah.
when I realized I was leaving there, it was a pretty safe environment. And, you see all the stories, and I kind of thought that you had to be some type of hero to be a firefighter. But when I got into training the first day and I looked around, and I'm like, these cats are just like me, and I'm in better shape than some of these guys. And, so but it's all the things you have to learn. You have to learn all the different tools and equipment and policies and why you do this and why you do that, which is like a college class. And like some people aren't built for it, and some people don't have the access. So I felt like, when my friends were signing up to take the test, I didn't really know what I was getting into. But because of the journey I went through, I told myself from day one, when I got into training and I saw how hard and difficult it was, I was always going to be the person that's going to reach back and help people. And I think, not to boast about myself, but I can say that there hasn't been probably one person on our department that has helped more people obtain this job or become more aware of this job. And there's been certainly a lot of people who have helped me, but I work with some mentors that showed me how to go out and knock door to door and recruit. And um, but at the time, some of the administrations didn't really support it 100% as if we had the last few years, and even before I was the chief, because when we came knocking, we were coming knocking, and we weren't going to be denied. And those gentlemen have retired, but now that I'm the chief, we're able to put on classes and orientations for minorities only, for females only, to really give them the attention. And we built a female orientation program, and there's a female that has been working with me for the last few years. And I tried to show her the vision, and I had this template, and I had been doing it for almost a decade or so. And a few years ago, she was like, "Chief, do you mind if you don't come to these and we just take it from here?" And I'm like, "Thank you." And I kind of feel like we passed the torch off to let them be the ones that are going to do the most recruiting in our history. So I feel proud about where I came from. Didn't know anything about the fire department, but I learned that this job, besides my family, is one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to become a
You
firefighter.
sound like you're retiring.
I mean, I work at the pleasure of the mayor. He has
Okay.
this year and next
And
year, and
yeah,
yeah,
because that's what it sounded like, a
no,
farewell speech.
I'm open to work.
I heard that.
I'm young.
You will serve at the pleasure of the next mayor if they choose to have you.
Yes,
That's
I,
what you say.
I
Okay, I
will, I
got you.
will, I will, I will consider that, and as long as I feel like I can help people, I can help our
Yeah.
firefighters be safe. I can provide services to our city. I will try to keep doing my best.
I feel responsible to give you a couple of moments just to go over some fire safety reminders. So let's just
Okay.
do that real quick.
Okay, number one, check your smoke detectors. You should have smoke detectors on every level of your home, in every bedroom. Maybe not in the kitchen area because a lot
So
of
every
people
bedroom. Okay,
every
not just out in the
nope
in the
yeah,
in the okay,
yep,
thank you.
every bedroom and outside of every sleeping area and on every level of the
Okay.
home. Carbon monoxide detectors should be on every level of the home also. Right now we're in the springtime, so if we're in the wintertime, I would make sure that all the exhaust pipes and everything were clear of snow. But certainly smoke detectors save lives. Carbon monoxide, they detect odorless, tasteless fumes that if you are exposed to them over a certain period of time, you will become unresponsive. So those are the two number one things I would say. If you need smoke detectors and you live in the city of Syracuse, if you dial 448-4777 or go online at syracuse.gov, and go to the fire department website page of the website. You can go online and request smoke detectors, but if you call that number again, 448-4777, we'll take your information and our firefighters will come to your house and install free smoke detectors for you. Those are the two number one things we can talk about. Working smoke detectors save people's lives, certainly. The fatal fires we've had, and 2 years ago, the one person that succumbed over on Burdick Street did not have working smoke detectors. And most of the time, when we find people that are having a hard time getting out of the fire, they weren't alerted in an early manner, and that's due to not having smoke detectors. So, um, those are the two main things I want to stress more than anything.
All right, Syracuse Fire Chief Michael Monds here on Inspiration for the Nation. Thank you for the work you do,
All
and
right,
thank you
thank
to
you.
the Syracuse Bravest for the work that they do in protecting the lives of the citizens of the city of Syracuse. Appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, George, and thank you for always highlighting all the things that we all forget about throughout our days and our weeks. So thank you for being a pillar of our community.
Appreciate that. Inspiration for the Nation.
Thank you.